Some of the most random items from Dollar Tree can be some of the coolest DIYs. I'm Jamie, the Crafty DIY guy. Right, everyone, and for project number one, I'm going to take this table decoration that I picked up from Dollar Tree. This is a glittery silver kind of a star, three-dimensional thing, and I'm warning you right now, you're going to get tons of silver glitter all over you when you do put this thing together. It is super, super cute, though, and I thought it would look really cool if it was spray painted black. I took it outside and I spray painted it with a matte black spray paint, and what I loved about this is that texture that the glitter is also with on there. It gives it a very cool, almost kind of a metallic look when everything is dry. I did go around all four sides and I did 2 coats of paint. And as you will see, it is a very cool looking decorative piece. It is such a cool looking star in itself. I would love this for 4th of July. In fact, I did buy all of the colors. You can get this in red, blue, and in the silver. But spray painting it black and adding it to my curio shelf here, I think it looks so cool, very industrial and very, very modern for $1. And for the next project, we're going to take these 2 coveted drawers that you find at Dollar Tree, most Dollar Trees anyway. And I have the 2 different sizes here. And then I did grab 2 of these wood balls, even though there's just 1 there showing. And then I did grab 8 of those dowel rods. Those are the packages of 10 that you can get from Dollar Tree. They're the long ones. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the hardware. I'm actually not going to use the hardware on these, so I'm going to put that aside and save that for something else. I'm taking my Onyx Minwax and stain there, and I'm just going to cover it with this brush. I love this stain. It goes on so easy. It cleans up even easier because it is a water-based stain. Literally a little bit of soap and water. It comes off of your mat. It comes off of your hands. It cleans out of the brush really easy. I just took my heat gun and I'm just going to help speed up that drying process a little bit with that heat gun. And then once everything had dried, I then went outside and I spray painted my dowel rods. I'm going to spray paint my dowel rods with this steel color that I love from Rust-Oleum. And once that dried, I also did spray paint the wooden balls that you can't really see here. Once everything was dried, then I took it inside and started to assemble. Basically, all I'm doing is kind of building a teepee. I'm going to add 2 of the bars in there, or 2 of the wood dowels in either corner, and then I'm going to bring the 2 dowel rods together at the top. I'm not crisscrossing them. I'm actually making them all kind of come flush with each other. When you see it in the second one, it'll actually make a little bit more sense. And what I'm doing is kind of creating a cradle, really, for that wooden ball that I'm going to put at the top there. And I did just go ahead and fill in the hole of that wooden ball with some hot glue before I spray painted it. That way everything looked nice and flush. And then I repeated the process for the smaller one as well. I did trim down those dowel rods just a little bit. And as you will see, I've got 2 great little decorative pieces. You can put a plant in here. You can put a candle in here. You can do a lot of different things. Obviously, use your own caution. Use what you think would look best in there. But I absolutely love these. And for my next project, I'm going to use one of these coveted hanging shelves. Thank you so much to my friends that sent me a couple of these. I received actually 3 or 4 of them in the mail. I also grabbed one of these pulleys that I picked up from Ace Hardware during my last Dollar Tree haul. I went ahead and took everything out of the packaging, and then I'm simply just going to untie the strings that are kind of holding that hanging shelf up. They're very, very easy, just a simple knot to remove. Once I did that, then I am going to start to stain my board. I'm going to use my Minwax again, but I'm going to use it in the walnut color. I'm just going to go ahead and squirt some right on the board itself, and then I'm going to take that same brush that I used earlier with the Onyx that I just kind of washed out, and I am just going to stain this board darker. I'm going to go ahead and go on the tops and the sides and the bottom of it, and actually I ended up skipping the bottom of it. I forgot, and you guys would have called me out though. But I did get the sides, and I got the top part of it, the important parts anyway. And then for this one, I just went ahead and replaced the hanging O-ring that was at the top there, and instead I'm going to just remove that from the twine, or from that, I guess it's twine, or what is it, wood we'll call it twine. I'm just going to remove that from there, and then I'm going to add that pulley in place of that. So all I'm going to do is just kind of that middle point there of the rope. I'm going to take the pulley and just feed that rope or that twine right back through there. And then I'm going to tie the shelf literally right back into place. It just gives it kind of a cool industrial vibe. What I'm doing is, as I'm feeding the rope back through those holes, I am going to just tie knots off at the end of that rope, and I'm just going to make sure that the distance I have is about the same as my fingernail width. That way everything hangs nice and even. The great thing about the pulley, though, is that you can self-adjust with that pulley, but I obviously want to make sure that the ropes are at least the same length on each side. So again, just kind of making a simple knot on either side, and then when it's all done, you've got a very cool industrial looking shelf that you can hang stuff on. Yes, you do need to make sure that this is balanced, but how cute is this? I've got that old oil can that I found at an antiques mall. I think I paid $1 for it, and just added one of my previous Dollar Tree products with some greenery. Pretty easy and fun to do, and I love the way this one turned out. My next DIY is going to be pretty straightforward. This one's really, really easy. I took one of these glass jars from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to simply just spray paint that lid. I did want to add a little bit of a knob to it. So originally I ended up using this small wooden bead, but you will see that after I take it outside, I decided that I didn't really like that wooden bead that much. I was going to fill the center of it with some hot glue, and I don't know, I just didn't like the way it looked after I spray painted everything black. So now, once everything is dry, I then take it inside, and then I decide, you know what? I'm going to remove that wood bead that I spray painted black, and instead I'm going to add a chunky brown stained bead to my black spray painted lid. And now I love the way this looks. I think that this looks so, so cute. And you don't really have to pull on that knob because it is glued on there and the jar lid screws on there. But how cute is this? Definitely something cute for your storage area, for your craft room, maybe even for your bathroom. A very, very easy and simple DIY that really has a cool high-end look. Right now, I think this is probably one of my favorite DIY projects that I've done so far. So I'm taking these beach toys, I don't even know what the heck they are, and 4 of these larger Jenga blocks, and then 2 of these wooden planks from Dollar Tree's Crafter Square. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and glue these blocks together. These blocks were gifted to me from a neighbor. They had used them in a fundraiser that was for foster children. And so you may notice some different sayings about foster children or parents or single parents or anything like that. So that's what that's for, in case you're curious of what those blocks say. I thought it was a very cool kind of a way to do Jenga, and I was really, really flattered that they would gift me these Jenga blocks that I could then use for a very cool craft project. So I'm going to go ahead and glue 2 of them together, so I have 2 sets, and then I'm going to take this mesh stuff off of here, and then that ball that's in there, I'm going to literally pop that ball right out and let Mr. Otis play with it. That one bounced back at me, but this one he was able to play with, and now he's, of course, playing with both of them. Now it's time to go ahead and start assembling my wood to this plastic ball shooter thing. Now I did go ahead and remove the clicker button, and you'll see where I'm gluing those wood blocks. That's actually the flatter side of this ball shooter thing. I don't know what it's called. And I'm just going to use hot glue for the sake of making this a quick DIY. If you wanted to make this sturdier, you could certainly use an E6000, but the plastic and the wood actually do bond together with the hot glue. So I did that on both of them, and then once they were done, it was time to go ahead and glue the wood backing to this. So in order to do that, what I wanted to do is make sure that that wood backing just kind of bumped up where the curve of the back of the ball shooter thing is, just to make sure that everything would lay completely flat and flush up against the wall. So now that I've got both of them done, it is time to take them outside and to spray paint them. Now, I really loved the way that this copper spray paint looked. This is probably one of my favorite colors right now. I'm definitely into metallics, but what I did next is really, really cool. Now, As you will see, they look like pretty gorgeous sconces just the way they are right now. But I took them a step further and added Dollar Tree tea lights in them that actually change colors. Now, once I've dimmed the lights, you can really see the different colors in there. I think that they would be really, really fun at a party. And if you wanted to just use a traditional white, tea light, you certainly could. Again, these are the battery operated tea lights that change colors. If you wanted to go with solid white, by all means do that. But again, I think that these are super fun and very, very unexpected. You would not think that these were a Dollar Tree summer toy by any means. Again, super, super happy with the way that these turned out. All right, everyone, and for project number 1, I'm going to be using a set of these galvanized numbers from Dollar Tree. Also, I'm going to be using 3 of these wooden boxes from Dollar Tree. Also, you can find all of this in the Crafter Square section. If you have some twine on hand, that would be helpful as well. First thing I'm going to do is take my wood boxes. You're going to go ahead and remove those drawers, and you're going to glue those 3 boxes together on top of each other. Now, Crafter Square and some of this stuff is not exactly level and not exactly the same size sometimes, so you may have to play around with that. I think for this one I got pretty lucky, and my 3 boxes actually are the same size and the same width. As you know, that sometimes doesn't always happen. So after you've glued all 3 of those together, you can just set this aside and let that dry and begin working on your drawer fronts. So for the drawer fronts, I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole in the front of them, or what's going to be the front of them. But rather than going directly in the middle, I'm actually going to go off to one side. I'm going off to the left side here. And this is the only drill bit that I could find. Ideally, I would use a bigger drill bit. And I just went through and just kind of wiggled the drill bit back and forth to make those holes a little bit larger. And then you can see here, I'm not really measuring. I'm just kind of eyeballing on where those holes are going to be. I think I actually did a pretty good job just kind of eyeballing it. So once again, of course, you want to be careful whenever you're working with power tools or anything. And again, just kind of wiggle that hole around or get a drill bit that's actually larger. So now that I've got everything set up, I am going to go ahead and take my cube tower outside and paint those. And I'm painting them black. And then for the drawers itself, I'm going to be using this Minwax Express color. It's a tinted stain that I really, really love working with. What's great about it also is that it's water-based, so the cleanup is super, super easy. I'm just going to take a staining cloth, and for the sake of time, I'm just going to be doing the sides and the front of my drawer. You could certainly do the entire drawer inside and out if you wanted to. Again, this is totally up to you, and I'm just doing that so I don't have to wait all night for everything to dry. And after everything was dried, I went ahead and I took my drawers, and I'm just going to feed some twine through here. I did end up going with something that was a little bit thicker than the previous bundle that you saw. So go ahead and just tie a knot in your twine itself, and then trim off any of the excess. I just grabbed my lineman pliers. They were handy. And then for this next part, I am going to tie another knot in this, and I'm going to make sure that that knot is very close to that wood surface as well. I just kind of want this to have kind of an industrial look. I had some doorknobs and different things like that, but I just wanted to have something very simple and just kind of cool looking for the industrial look that I'm going for. Now for my letters, or my numbers rather, I'm going to go ahead and take those and I'm going to pull out the 1, the 2, and the 3, and I am going to hot glue these to the front of my drawers. Now, if you wanted to make sure that this stayed, obviously you should use something like a super glue. I'm just going to use my wood glue real quick for this, and it's going to be perfectly fine for the sake of the demo. After you've got all 3 of your numbers glued to your drawers, they make a very cool impact by themselves. Insert them into your block tower, and you've got the coolest looking industrial organizational cube thingy that I think is super, super fun. I was able to take mine, put it in the bathroom. I can store Q-tips and cotton balls and dental picks and things like that. For my next DIY, we're going to be using a package of these shells from Dollar Tree. You can get these in a variety of different sizes, but you want to be sure and look for a package that has one of these longer shells in it. I really like those and love that idea. Also, I'm going to grab some white twine or some cream colored twine, and then 1 package of these iridescent beads that I picked up from Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. So the first thing we're going to do is take our seashells apart, and I am going to pick out the perfect seashell for this project. For this one, I want to have something that's going to hang at the end of my garland or end of my kind of beaded tassel. And what I'm doing is going for something that has that angle. And I think that this one is going to be absolutely perfect. Next thing I'm going to do is take my cream colored twine, and I'm actually going to add some hot glue to the end of it. Adding some hot glue to the end of it is going to actually help stiffen it up a little bit, and it will thread your beads and your really any kind of beads that you're doing. It's going to thread them so much easier. And just go ahead and let that harden, and then once it does, you can start threading your beads. Now, I decided to go ahead and add some of these pearls that I actually forgot that I had on hand, and I'm going to be including these with my garland. Now, the pearls you can find at Dollar Tree as well. They're kind of in the Crafter Square section sometimes. Sometimes I've seen them very, very randomly in like the garden section, which totally doesn't make sense to me, but hey, I'm not the one merchandising the store. So again, I am going to now be using the pearls as well as those iridescent beads. And as you can see, threading these actually works really, really easy once you do have that hot glue on the end of your twine. And now I'm just going to go ahead and add 2 pearls, 2 iridescent beads, 2 pearls, 2 iridescent beads, and just kind of alternate like that back and forth. You could certainly do a pattern if you wanted to. Originally, I was going to do like 6 beads and then 2 pearls and then 6 blue beads and 2 pearls, but I decided just to keep this kind of interesting and just kind of a little basic, I guess you could say. Now, for that shell that has that opening on the end, that is actually going to help you a lot. What you want to do is take some of your twine that has your beads on it, and you're just going to kind of ball up some of the twine. And for this one, all I'm literally going to do is ball up the twine, and then I'm going to stuff it inside that shell. Literally, it is going to be that easy. And as I'm stuffing, I did add a little bit of hot glue down on the inside of that shell, and then I'm using my glue gun to kind of help force the rest of that twine down inside there. And as you will see, this will hold really, really well. Now, I do want to caution you, your shell is going to get hot when you put hot glue in there. So just be mindful of that when you are doing this project. After all my beads are threaded, I am going to go ahead and take a piece of twine and create a tassel. I chose to go with this kind of darker colored twine versus using that cream color because I want something that's going to kind of pop off of the shells themselves. So I'm just going to make a simple tassel by wrapping some of the twine around my hand. I'm going to then pull it off. I'm going to cut it, pull it off, and start to tie it to the end of my tassel. And then just doing a couple quick loops and trimming down the bottom, I've got a tassel at the end of my garland. And when it's all done, this is what it looks like. I really love how simple this is. I think that it's kind of a cool touch of summertime without being overtly like beach or nautical. You don't see a lot of ships and anchors and buoys and things like that. This is just kind of a very simple nod to that nautical, that very classy and almost an elegant design that I really, really love a lot. Last DIY is probably one of my favorites, and it is so easy. All you have to do is take a glass from Dollar Tree. You want to use a real glass from Dollar Tree and get something that's got a heavier bottom. And then, of course, with the Dollar Tree sticker, you know how that goes sometimes. Sometimes you can remove it really easily, and other times you get something like this. Well, I did ultimately end up taking my tape gun to it, or my my heat gun to it, and kind of warming up that sticker and peeling it off on both sides. You do want to be careful doing this though, because if you hold your heat gun too close to that plastic, it's actually going to melt that plastic, and you definitely don't want that. And it does not smell good either. So I'm going to take my drinking glass. I did manage to get most of that tag off of the bottom of that. And I'm going to add some E6000 quick hold. This is just like E6000. It is E6000, but it's their quick hold formula. So it actually starts to dry within 30 minutes. And I love that because I don't have to wait all night for it. Within 30 minutes, you can certainly start working with your project. You'll want to wait though at least 24 hours before you do anything real crazy with it. But again, what I love about it is within that 30 minutes, you can start to do some light adjustments to your project if you want to. Go ahead and take your plastic garden bowl from Dollar Tree and just center it and glue it straight down. I did add a little bit of weight in there just to make sure that it was good and set. And for mine, because I wasn't ready to paint it right away, I actually did let it sit for 24 hours. And now it's all dry and ready to go, and we are ready for the next step, which is to paint. So I'm taking this outside, and I'm actually going to be using a texturized paint that's almost like stone, and it is by Rust-Oleum. It is a it's textured paint is what they sell it as, and it's available in a lot of different colors. I went with kind of a dark brown, and as you can see, it is not exactly sticking perfectly to the glass or to the plastic for that matter. So heads up, you'll want to go ahead and do very, very light coats, and then come back after it's dried and add another coat. And then let that dry, and then come back again and add some more paint to it. And that will eventually build up those layers. The paint has a liquid of some kind in it that just doesn't adhere right away to plastic. Just be patient with it, be slow with it, and you'll have a gorgeous bowl that ends up looking like this. This is very modern looking. This is very high-end looking. You see a lot of these types of bowls in places like Pottery Barn and very similar stores like that. I just added my Dollar Tree Buddha from Dollar Tree. I'm only going to be using 2 of those. I also grabbed 2 of these styrofoam cones, and then I have 5 packages of my nautical rope here. These are the 9.5 feet bundles. If you buy the 11 feet, or you're able to find even smaller ones maybe, you may need to adjust that slightly. I actually only ended up using about 4 packages for this project. First thing I did was add some hot glue at the bottom of my styrofoam cone. I made sure that my glue was kind of on a medium heat setting. That way it wouldn't melt the styrofoam. I didn't have any problems with it at all, which was great. So as I'm wrapping it around, I am going to be adding more glue, especially on the bottom, because I do want that glue to stay and I want that rope to stay in place. So as you will see, after I burn my finger there a little bit, I'm going to take my hot glue and just continue to wrap around the base of the cone, and then just slowly start working my way all the way up. I think at the very beginning of this, especially when you're wrapping those first couple of rows down along the kind of the base of that cone itself, you want to make sure that you have a really good hold there. So go ahead and add the extra glue. As you can see, I'm doing it really every couple of, it's not even inches, we'll call it centimeters. And I'm just kind of working my way all the way around, just making sure that everything is as close as possible to the bottom. And then as I continue to wrap up, I'm kind of taking the hot glue and I'm putting it on the styrofoam, but then also putting a little bit on the previous piece of rope that was there, and just making sure that this is wrapped nice and tightly until I get all the way to the very, very top. And then once I'm at the top, I always cut my rope at a slight angle, and that allows me to glue this down pretty flat to where it's not going to kind of interfere with the small plastic cups that I'm going to be gluing at the top of this. And I just repeated the same process for the second one. So I had 2 cones that were identical like this. Now, all you have to do is add some hot glue to the base of your kind of plastic bowls there. I don't know why I said kind of plastic bowls, because they are plastic bowls. But you'll add some hot glue to those and then just stick them down right on top of your cones. Now, the cones are styrofoam. The rope certainly does add a little bit of weight to it. If you wanted to put something along the bottom of it that maybe was a piece of wood or something like that to help anchor them down, you could definitely do that. And now I'm going to glue number 2 on there. I know you guys thought it was already glued on there, and then you saw me knock it off of the cone. But again, just gluing these in place, making sure that they're good and solid. And then I'm going to start on the second part of this, which is taking some of my leftover nautical rope that I had. Each cone, by the way, took about a bundle and a half. So I was able to take each one of the halves, and now I'm going to take those and just kind of wrap them. I would say it's about maybe not quite halfway up that plastic cone, because I did kind of want that plastic bowl. I think I just called it a cone. I wanted that plastic bowl to show through. Now, in the Dollar Tree section where the houseware stuff is, like your plates and bowls and cups and things. They do sell mini bowls like this that are glass. If you can find those, that would be brilliant. I did not find those, so I'm just using these plastic ones. If you do use the glass ones, then obviously you'll want to go ahead and weight down the bottom of this. So once I kind of figured out where I wanted my rope to be, again, I cut it at an angle, trimmed it and glued it, and just repeated that process on both of my cones. And when it was all done, this is what it looks like. I absolutely loved these. They definitely kind of have a nautical vibe to them. I could see them working really, really well in a farmhouse style. After I did these, I thought about what if I would have painted the cups themselves black. That would have given them a very cool industrial vibe. Obviously, I've got candles in here, and probably not the smartest thing. Go ahead and put a battery-operated candle. I wanted it to be pretty for the video for you guys. Take one of these award cones. These are found kind of in the teacher / like education section, and we're going to take 8 of these Jenga blocks. The first thing I'm going to do is take my Jenga blocks, and I'm going to glue 2 of them together end to end, and I'm going to do a total of 4 of these double sets. So hopefully that makes sense. When you are doing this, you want to make sure that you're using a wood glue is really ideal. Here I'm just using a hot glue because it's kind of quick and it's really just for the purpose of the DIY. If I were doing this for a long-term usage, then I would definitely use wood glue or possibly even super glue. When you are gluing those together too, you want to make sure that they're laying nice and flat. You want to make sure that everything that you are gluing together is going to have a nice straight edge to it. Sometimes those Jenga blocks come out and they are not very quality controlled sometimes in the factory at Dollar Tree or wherever they're made at Santa's workshop. And, you may end up getting some crooked ones. So just keep that in mind when you're putting them together. And when you're done, you'll have 4 that look like this. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is take my cone and I'm actually going to spray paint it. I'm doing this in my basement. And that's kind of why you don't see the pretty backyard or anything. It's actually raining outside. So I had to DIY, and I am going to spray paint this downstairs. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I am just going to let that side dry, and then I'm going to flip it over and spray paint the other side as well. Now, while that is out there drying or down there drying, I'm going to take the Jenga blocks and I'm just going to rub some antiquing wax from Waverly on here. I love working with this stuff, and I love the coverage. I love everything about it. I usually just use a rag of some kind, like I've got in my hand there, and I will literally just start rubbing and getting the color. The one thing I do love about these Jenga blocks is because they are not made equally and the wood grains and everything are very, very different. You're going to get a very, we'll call it an eclectic look for all of those pieces. And once I've got everything dried, then I am going to go ahead and just pop a heat gun on it real quick just to help speed up that drying process. And now that the glue has dried on everything, it is time to go ahead and add my succulents. I have one of those moss-colored rocks down in the center of the cone right now. And now I'm just going to take another one of those rocks. I'm going to poke a hole in it with my paintbrush, and I'm going to add some hot glue into that hole because I'm actually using one of these succulents that typically has that clip on the bottom of it. I just removed the clip. I'm going to save that for another project. And then I'm going to set this up and I'm going to let it dry. And it's a little drunk, so it's going to fall over on me. And now it's pretty hard, so we're just going to go ahead and plant it. And I'm going to take some of my rocks, probably not that one, that was a little big, and we are just going to kind of fill in that space and make sure that those rocks help hold that succulent in place. Now I'm going to add this little trailing succulent that just gives it some character, and I think that this is super, super cute. It's very industrial looking. I think you could easily spray paint this white or another color, and it could very easily be a farmhouse thing. I think it's just super, super cute. I love the way this looks, and I love the detail, and it's also just something that's very unique and super unexpected. My next project is going to use one of these large wooden signs that you can get at your local Dollar Tree and about 10 to 12 clothespins, just kind of depending on what your personal style is. I'm also going to remove this label, which is going to prove to be challenging because it's a Dollar Tree label. You guys know that these can be a problem sometimes. I'm going to take my heat gun and actually just kind of heat that label up, and then it peels off pretty easily. Now for the clothespins, I'm going to show you a cool trick that I learned. I take a large Ziploc bag. I add some water to it, just a little bit of water. I also add some of this RIT dye, or right dye, I'm not sure exactly how you say it. And I am going to put it into my Ziploc bag. I'm going to shake it, mix it all up, and then I'm going to add those clothespins in there. And I am going to take those clothespins and just kind of toss around that liquidy dye. I'm using a brown dye, I think you saw that. And as you can see, it starts to darken up. I did add a little bit more dye to this, and I am just going to shake and bake. Not bake, but, shake around those clothespins and get those nice and covered. And then I did take them to my sink and I drained it. I rinsed everything off, and this is the result that you get. Now I'm just going to dab off any of the excess water. And as you can see, they give a really, really cool effect. And you can do this with any color dye that you might have. And I love the way that this looks. It just gives it kind of a old, kind of like a reclaimed wood kind of a feel, because you've got some darker areas, you've got some lighter areas. I just love the effect that using this dye does, and it's actually a pretty easy cleanup. Now to help speed this along, I am going to take my heat gun and I'm just going to go over all of my clothespins and just make sure that those are nice and dry and smooth and flat and dry. I'm going to flip them over and turn them around. Now for this wood plank, I'm still painting downstairs in the basement. I am just going to use my flat black Rust-Oleum spray paint here that I love so much. I'm going to go over that one side twice, and then I am going to flip it over and do the other side as well. That way everything is completely covered in black. Once that has dried, I did take it inside, and now I'm going to space out my clothespins. For me, I'm going to do my clothespins starting about 1 inch out on that left side, and then I'm going to have them every 2 inches. So once I kind of have a visual idea, or at least a visual feel for the way it's going to lay out and look, then I'm going to take some of my hot glue and I'm just going to start gluing these clothespins down. Now, once again, if you want something that's going to be a little more sturdy, I definitely recommend using like an E6000, again, just for the sake of the video and for keeping it moving, and also because I'm not really hanging a lot of really heavy items on this. The hot glue is actually going to work fine, and that hot glue, by the way, is a hot glue that is made for wood. So these will adhere and hold really, really nicely. I use this hot glue all the time. You can get it from Shore Bonder. Now, after I did have everything aligned and all the clothespins in place, I did flip this over and I added some hardware to the back. This hardware is actually left over from some Dollar Tree signs. All I did was just screw them right back into the backing, and that provides a very nice way for me to hang this up on the wall. And as you can see, it is the perfect kind of men's valet station for holding, chains, necklaces, bracelets. Ladies, of course, you can actually use this yourself. I think that it would be really fun if you painted it different colors. I think you could even adjust the clothespins, maybe group more of them close together, some of them farther apart, depending on how big your accessories might be. But for me, this was perfect, and I absolutely love the way that this turned out. It's going to be extremely handy. I'm very excited about this next DIY because I love the way that this turned out. I'm going to be using 6 of these drawers that I picked up from Dollar Tree. I actually lucked out and grabbed the last 6 that were in my store. These have been very, very hard to find. And now I have these wood squares. These are actually from Amazon. I do have them linked below for you if you want to get them. They are 5-inch squares, and they are the perfect size to cover this entire cube station. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually remove all the drawers because I don't want these to kind of be interfered. And now I'm just going to glue these together. Once again, just using hot glue because it's quicker for the video. If you did want to make this more sturdy and have some life with this, I highly recommend that you use an E6000, perhaps even the E6000 Quick Hold. Even super glue would work really well for this. And for these, I'm just going to be adding some hot glue right to those kind of raised levels. And then I am going to add some in the corners as well. And we are going to glue the 6 boxes together. Then they will look like this when they're all done. So I glued them on top of each other, and then I glued the 3 and the 3 together side by side. Now for these wood squares, I want to show you how perfect these are. These are going to fit so good across the top, and they also fit perfectly along the sides as well. Again, these are 5-inch square pieces that I picked up on Amazon. You can get these pretty inexpensively, and I have to say I've used just about every single one that I've purchased. They take the antiquing wax and regular stain and paint really, really well. You don't have to pre-sand them or anything like that. I'm just taking my antiquing wax, I'm just going to apply it with a brush, and then I'm going to do my cloth and just kind of rub everything around and make sure that I've got good coverage. I did this on all 8 of my squares, and I also did it on the front and the back sides, because at the time of doing this, I wasn't exactly sure if I was going to paint my clear kind of drawer system or not. But as you will see, I do end up painting it. I took it downstairs to the basement once again, and it is ventilated down there, by the way, so no worries down there. But I am taking these and I am going to spray paint them with my flat black to give this kind of an industrial feel, which is definitely, as you guys know, my aesthetic, my design. I do a lot of stuff that I reuse in my own home, so I'm going to make it to go with my house. The thing I love about this, though, is that you could very easily turn this into something that is perfect for yourself. I've seen kind of a glam version of this done with mirrors on the side. Bet you could even do this in white, or keep those drawers clear and maybe stain the wood a lighter color. There's so many different options that you can do with this, and I really love this. So now, after my antiquing wax and my paint are all dry, it is time to go ahead and start assembling. Now, these wood pieces have some unique grains to them as well, so I'm going to try and find 2 pieces for the top that have a very similar grain. And as you can see here, there's some similar lines and veinings in the wood there. And all I'm going to do is take these. Now, for the top pieces, you will just add a little bit of hot glue in the middle there. Yeah, I know, that's a little more than a little. And then you're going to add glue into the 4 corners. And then once you do that, you will see that they line up perfectly. And then for the back side, go ahead and also do the same thing. And literally, you're just repeating this on all sides of your drawer system, except for the front, of course. Now, I did have some black beads that were already painted, so I didn't have to worry about that. And I'm actually going to add those to the bottom. So I have some little feet for my little jewelry box valet thing that I'm creating here. And as you can see, when it's all done, it is so cute. I love the way that this turned out. It is the perfect place to hold my watches and rings and jewelry and chapstick and hand lotion and all kinds of great things. And what I really love about this is that it goes so perfectly with that mirror on my dresser here. How cool is this? I love that mirror that I made a long time ago in a DIY video. And again, everything looks so perfect together, and it is a great place to stash all of my goodies. This doll furniture that I picked up at Dollar Tree, I actually found it in the summer toys section, which I thought was kind of cool. I'm just going to be spray painting them and just kind of freshening it up. I'm using very similar colors, as you can see. And I don't know, I just think it's going to make it pop a little more. And honestly, it's more about it coordinating well with my front porch. Now, this one I spray painted red. I don't know what was going on in my brain. I got a little crazy, got a little hairy here. And you'll see that I end up spray painting it a different color when we go to the next part of this project. Now, as you can see, I spray painted that lounger this midnight blue instead of the red. I like it so much better, and you know that blue is one of my favorite colors. Now, we are going to take these Dollar Tree succulents that come in these little pots, and I'm actually going to remove the succulent as well as the styrofoam, and then we're going to put that in one of these tiny terracotta pots that I picked up from Dollar Tree. Once you've done that, you can see you have the cutest little garden for your front porch or for your back deck. I think that this would even be super cute if you put some candles on it maybe, or incorporated some candles. Again, I really love the way that these are. I think that they're super, super cute, very whimsical. And I just think they add a very cool touch to my front porch. And for my next project, this was inspired by a clock that I saw in a boutique down in downtown Atlanta. It was $85, and I thought that I could easily recreate this with some Dollar Tree materials. I did pick up this clock at Goodwill. It was $3, and then I had the silverware that I picked up at Dollar Tree. I separated my forks, my knives, and my spoons, and then began to start laying everything out. Once I figured out where everything needed to be placed, I took a chalk marker and just marked on the back of my clock at the 12 o'clock, the 3 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, and the 9 o'clock mark, so I would know exactly where to glue down my silverware. I wanted my forks to stick out a little bit farther, or I guess in this case, a little bit less than some of the other silverware, since they were kind of the main numbers, if you were, of the clock. So I went ahead and just trimmed one down, and then since I committed to it, I went ahead and trimmed down the other ones. If I were to redo this, I probably wouldn't have trimmed down the forks and just kept everything the same size, but I'm still happy with the way everything turned out. You can just grab your lineman pliers or a pair of clippers, and these will pop pretty quickly, pretty easily, because these are made of plastic. I don't know if I told you guys that at the very beginning or not. Once I had everything trimmed down to the proper size, I went ahead and just started gluing. I started with my forks and glued them all in that 4 spots that I marked on the back of the clock, just doing a spot check every once in a while and making sure that I was in the right area. And then I went ahead and just started gluing the other pieces of silverware all around the clock and set this aside to dry. Once everything was dry, this is what it looks like hanging in my kitchen. I think this is a super cool industrial take on a very cool farmhouse style clock. You could easily age this or paint it or even do a stencil or something in the middle of it to make it more farmhouse. I love the way this looked. I thought it was super modern and definitely kind of an industrial farmhouse vibe of those containers. So I'm going to first take my painter's tape and just tape off the bottom piece of one of my pencil holders. And then I'm going to tape off the top half of my other pencil holder, just to give it a little bit of variety. The next thing I'm going to do is take my A-Maker Studio Chalk Art Navy Blue chalk paint, and I'm going to be painting the lower halves, or the wooden halves, I should say, of each one of these. I'm actually just going to use a makeup sponge for this. You can go directly into the paint itself, or you can just grab some from the lid. I kind of like to grab it from the lid a lot of times, but as you can see, this paint goes on nice and smooth and is very, very luxurious. I actually love this paint a lot, and it's probably becoming one of my new favorites. You can order this if you'd like. Check it out. I have a link below. So once I've got the top of one of my containers covered in blue and the bottom part covered in blue, I then pull out my antiquing wax after using my heat gun to let it dry up a little bit. I almost forgot about that part. And now that the blue paint is dry, I am going to remove that painter's tape to expose that raw wood at the top of one of my containers and at the bottom of the other container. And then I'm going to pull out my antiquing wax and start covering that unfinished wood in that darker wood color. I do go all the way around the wood pieces with the antiquing wax, and I don't even worry about whether I'm crossing that blue line or not, because as you'll see, as I do start to blend the paints and get closer to that blue line, I do kind of push the antiquing wax away from the blue. It does end up overlapping a little bit, but it kind of created a nice dark line down the middle of it, which I really, really liked. So I ended up kind of goofing on purpose, I guess, for the other one. And as you will see, they create these really great dark lines in the middle that almost look like it's a black line separating the two colors. By the way, I'm sure some of you saw me working on that Shore Bonder gluing mat and you thought that I was ruining it with this chalk paint, but as you can see, it wipes up very, very easily. Nothing sticks to this. All I did was take a little bit of cleanser and a clean towel and just wiped it completely off, and it's as good as new. Now, I chose not to paint the insides of mine, and that's totally a personal choice. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. I love the way that these turned out. They almost look like they're like a rustic wood or something. I really, really like these. The glass bottles fit perfectly inside of those, and they create the perfect little bud vases. Very modern, very industrial, just kind of hip and different. And again, just depending on how you choose to paint or fill yours, you can have something that is very farmhouse or very industrial or even something that's even contemporary. I love the way these turned out.